Hey guys, how you doing? Okay, I'll be right back. I'm gonna pop on a game so you can watch. So I'll be right back. 1 second. Alrighty, let's get started. Hold on. 1 second. I have to AFK. I gotta do one thing. I'll be right back in. Alright, let's do it to it. Now we're ready to go. Okay, let's analyze the game. Okay, white is Carl A. Hasler, and black is Matthew Zagorothic. I don't know. I'm not probably not pronouncing the name right. I apologize for both of you that I'm pronouncing. But white is a 2,200, and black is a 2,218. So let's see how do they first start out. Knight f3, which is more of a modern line. d5, and then b4, which is white black's writing this and saying that white kind of plays. I believe they call this. I'm not sure if they call this the. Jennifer Wu played it one time. It was not this U.S. championship. It was the last one. Oh, the orangutan. I think it's called the orangutan. Don't quote me on that. I remember it. It might be before is right at first is the orangutan, then you play knight f3. I don't know. I don't play that online, so I'm not sure. Okay. So knight f6, black just develops this. Hey, if you want to play an offline, that's okay. I'll just play principal. Bishop f5, e3, and then c4. Yeah, what he could actually do here is play e6 and then have a really good type of French position with the bishop outside and b4, so that a3 would actually have to be played here. Then you can play bishop d6, bishop e2, black would castle, white would castle, and then potentially c4 at this point. I mean, c5 would be a good kind of breaking move. Pawn takes, and I don't know if white would want to play d4, but this sets up a very symmetrical type of position. Except black does have a more compact pawn structure at this moment, so it's an interesting move. Delete that. So c4, c6. Let's see. Hold on. Oops. Did I? Hold on. Oops. I apologize. Sorry. I knew there was a problem. I missed the move. So he did play this and then c4. He's this is tempting black to take the bishop, and then they transpose into kind of a Slav setup. There he says that bishop takes b4 is actually a playable line too. It's fine for black. I thought I was already slightly better without getting sucked into needless complications. I didn't seriously look at any of this during the game, but the computer variation says that it is equal after c takes d5 exclaim, and then queen takes. This is an equal position because what they're wanting to do is play. They can't play d3 because of this pin, so it's kind of hard. They want to play e4 and fork, but they can't. So black just decided to go more towards a Slav setup and he didn't want to play any complications. They didn't have to at that point. And then they're saying that after, let me see here, black's better development and with a roughly equal position for white's central majority of superiority, because white has two pawns and black only has one. So that's a potential setup. If black actually went pawn takes here, this would actually be a mistake, because a4 would have to be played. Then knight to c6 and knight d4 with an attack on this knight here, and black has too many loose pieces. Knight takes is not playable, so we wouldn't be able to take this yet. So it's kind of a really hard position for black to go down. So complications were resolved by just going c6, pawn c6. Queen b3 is idea with potentially now white can try to break two ways with just going b5 and trying to break this way and this way, and then white's good. And he also can expand, having a kind of minority attack set up. Knight bd2 and d4, a5 to try to undermine the pawn, and then a3. Here I thought for about 25 minutes. That's what white says. White's plan is clear. He would like to play c5 and b5 when black's queenside structure will be permanently weakened. However, white has revealed his strategy already before he has completed his development, and black has a number of promising continuations. that even if he tries, see, his goal is white wants to play this here and then try to crack down on the center. He wants to try to make his queen really good and create an open file. After takes, then queen would take there, and so you would have a queen here, and then you'd have the pawn there. So it'd be an interesting position to say the least. A takes B is an interesting idea. Hold on, let me get a sip of my tea. It says he actually spent a couple another idea rather than taking. He was talking about queen to b6. White spent plenty enough. I spent some time calculating the following piece sacrifice. If c5, bishop takes c5, d takes c5, and knight takes c5. Black has won 2 pawns for the piece, but I correctly found the continuation of queen c3, exclam, and this is better for white. If they're also saying though that this would actually have been a mistake. Queen d1, and then a takes b, and about equal. So they're saying that after he plays queen here, knight a4, queen d2, d4, trying to trade off because now he's a piece up for 2 pawns. c5, kaplunk. We're like, I don't think so. B takes, and then we play queen takes. Queen takes, check. King e7, and queen d4. Queen c1, check. Queen d1, queen b2, and then knight bd2. And this is actually superior to his advantage. Black finally runs out of threats and is lost. He's lost at this point. There's also one other line that he considered, which was d takes c, bishop takes, queen b6. This is attempting, since b5 is actually a mistake, losing at least a pawn, a4. But I figured that after that a4, b takes c, queen takes b, actually right here, sorry, this was also a sideline, sorry, wrong line there, a5, yeah, so yep. And this kind of wasn't if black took here, then I was sorry, this here. Alright, and then queen takes and bishop takes, that's right. Rook takes a5, and black may be marginally better, that's what he's saying. Rook takes a1, and bishop takes a1. Queen a5 is an interesting type of setup here. Not a5, queen a8, sorry. I realized simply the continuation, the forcing, he had a forcing line that potentially bishop b6 could be played. I checked this variation above a sack as well with c5, bishop takes c5, takes, oops, wrong. Knight takes, and then queen a3. Black is busted. Yeah, Stockfish demonstrated that black can win a pawn by force with let me see here. Black can actually win by force with this takes win a pawn by force with bishop takes and then b5. I briefly considered this variation during the game, but I didn't see the follow-up. That's what he was saying. He didn't see the follow-up after b5. And white was doing fine after, let me see here, b5. If queen b6, I looked at this move and felt that white was doing fine after b5. So it's about equal. So black no longer has the a5 push anymore, a4 push anymore, and sit in a similar variation. And if bishop rather than b5, bishop e2, you also have knight d5. And white must drop the b pawn enough. Drop the b pawn, although he retains some modest compensation since black has relinquished the control of bishop to c3. So if black tries bishop c3 here, bishop takes, and if queen takes, then knight takes, and he has enough compensation for that move. White actually made a double question mark blunder here. I need to get a drink. 1 second. Bishop b2 was actually a plain old blunder. This loses. Played instantly. If bishop c3, I was just going to continue with the normal plan. So bishop c3. He was just going to continue with the normal plan of bishop e7, bishop e2, castles, c5, and if b6, black threatens b takes c, followed up by rook b. After b takes c here, he's going to bring the rook over, and after that trades, he's going to have a rook here, hammering along there, with this bishop attacking the knight. So not too good. This was a it was this here. It was actually the losing move. Bishop takes. Bishop b2. Bishop a2, queen c2, and then bishop takes b4 check. And black resigned here. He actually blundered the game away in one move. Somehow chess blindness set in, because it would have been interesting. Why would you block the communication with your knight? That was what puzzled me there. So let's analyze one more game. Let's go back. They said that there was a another beautiful game right here. Okay. Okay. So d4, g6, g3, and bishop g7, bishop g2, d5. So symmetrical position, pawn c3, and knight f6, knight d2, and castles for black. Knight g f3. He says, I suspected he planned on playing e4, but then thought better if knight takes e4, knight takes e4. I'll show you if he, rather than did this, if he played e4, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, and pawn takes e4, bishop takes e4, and knight d2, knight d7, sorry, followed by c5 or e5. So that's an idea. So, but white didn't go down that path. He played knight ge, so black played bishop b6. Knight bd7 is also a playable line here that could be played. Knight bd6 is also, or bd7. But what was played was b6 here. So castles was actually played by white, and bishop. So now black has two fianchettoed bishops. Knight e5, and so white's trying to unwind their pieces and get some sort of an attack going. But with g6 on tapped, it's kind of a hard thing to do. He's going to have to get Harry going. You really can't attack on the wing until you've neutralized central pressure. So you can't just say, oh, I want to attack the king side. If the center is immobile, black's going to try to smack down in the center. and so that's why white kind of jammed a knight in e5. White wants to sometime play h4, h5, and start ripping open the king side. There's also potentially a4 is a playable line as well, and then e4 is playable too. You could play e4 or a4. White could also play knight c, not knight c3, knight bd2. Wait, hold on. Oh, okay. If e4, he could play e6 and then knight g5 and knight potentially that. Huh. I don't understand their notation here. That's okay. Sometimes their notation is a little different, so you gotta bear with me. Knight bd2, so now he's going after, and then so knight takes. Developing the black piece, giving away an opening advantage of knight g, knight dg also is playable. So is knight d3, which also is a playable line as well, rather than just trading. White just took, and so that kind of didn't sit too well. Queen, because now black's the one with middle game play because of how his development, he has the rooks connected and the pieces developed. So black's actually in the middle game right now, and white is still trying to unwind their pieces in the opening. See, that's kind of, you can almost tell when the opening phase has begun, is when these rooks can look at each other. When these rooks look at each other, that means, and the queen's not mixing the communications, this is when the middle game has begun. So what happened is white is at least 2 or 3 moves away from entering the middle game. So if you look at it, black has a 3 tempo advantage on white. Black will be in the middle game 3 moves sooner than white, and so white's gonna have to deal with a couple of punching blows that's gonna be coming down the pike pretty soon, because black has 3 moves to use in the middle game. He's 3 more moves ahead, and if white can't get unwound, he's going to get punched until and get knocked out, like in boxing. He'll be KO'd really soon. And the grandmasters know how to kind of for a little bit parry all the punches, like duck, move around, and all that. So it's not. See, now white's unwinding, so he's one more move closer. He's got 2 moves before his rooks are connected. So knight e4. So black's used one of his moves to centralize his knight. Knight g5. This is he's trying to have the knight trade off and then take with tempi, so that he'll be 1 move closer to the one more move closer. Knight d6. Black wasted a move not to allow that to happen, because he figured that white's knight's not optimally placed. So rook e1, and you're gonna have to be really careful. I probably would have maybe developed my bishop to f4 and try to get into the middle game, but this move does make sense. White's trying to break the center down a little bit and cause some mobility, but I really don't think that's a wise idea, because black's the one who has the slice and dice. You just got to be really careful. And h6. Now this pushes white back. I thought I was hurrying with this, but in fact, e4 is not really a threat. See what we talked about? What we just talked about, e4 isn't a threat, so this was kind of a little too of a rush. But it does give tempo to black. So h6 was played, knight f3, and e6. Now the center is kind of locked up, and black's going to be focusing on trying to open up the position and get a kingside attack going now, because white's lagging behind in development. Excuse me. He's lagging behind in development. Knight e5. So this knight has actually wasted the majority of the moves to get the pieces into the center. Let me see here. Okay, knight d3. Actually, queen e7, and then knight d3. So it's kind of like really odd. White's kind of being, in my opinion, slightly silly in what they're doing. White should try somehow to get the bishop now. If they don't get bishop f4 and bishop into e5, White's going to get destroyed, because he's he's still in the opening. Look at this. His pieces, like black's been in the middle game for like 5 to 6 moves, and white's still in the opening phase. If you think about it, look at where his pieces are. His rooks aren't connected. So just keep that in mind when you're playing a game as well, that you're not stuck in the opening. That means when your pieces are on the back rank. You can't win when your army's home. You have to send them out to the front line. Rook f c1. See, now Black's gonna try to. He knows he can't break on the king side. There's not enough pieces, but the queen side is ripe for the pluckings. e3, that is a dubious move. He played this was a silly move. Bishop here would have been better. If he tries here, just trade it off. You know, what do you have to lose? Now lock it up. Now you're one move away from getting to the middle game. One more move. Let's say this move here. Okay, we're gonna play queen. Oops, we don't want to put it on the same. We'll say queen here, and let's say here. Okay, now white's in the middle game. Now white has a fighting chance. But when he played e3, now his bishop is a glorified pawn at this moment. Jeremy Silman calls a bishop that's entombed like this a tall pawn, which is nothing more. It's worth only a pawn. Can you imagine that? You turn your bishop into a pawn. But you're saying, but look at white's bishop. It's entombed. Yeah, but he's one move away from a break, and then he also has his pieces perfectly mobilized for a queenside attack. So this bishop is doing something. This one isn't doing anything. This is actually attacking something and defending, and potentially maybe E5 could be played here, or D5. Yeah, E5 can be played here. So it's like, for real, what are they doing? I know I'm a little hyping on it or harping on it, but you know, it's just, you have to keep with development, otherwise you're going to get destroyed in the opening. I mean, or in the middle game. Well, you won't even reach the reason you get defeated, you won't reach the middle game. The reason you got defeated in the middle game was your opponent had reached the middle game and you're still in the opening, so you're trying to unwind your pieces and they already have their pieces unwound, and they're already hammering an assault on your king, and you don't have your pieces properly positioned out yet. So it just makes sense that you're see now c5, kaboom, wham. White, what is white doing? Are you serious? This is for real. He's trying to do that. I can't believe that they're trying to do that. Man, oh man, Chevys. I think sometimes they get panicked. I think what they're thinking about doing is that this bishop does pin this bishop, but actually in theory this knight covers it. So if white was to take here, black can actually push and trade off and the only active piece that white has, which is his bishop and his knight. Oh boy. Some of these moves I don't understand why they don't look at Jeremy Silman's kind of book on how to reassess your chess. This right here would explain. This book right here would explain what you're supposed to be doing, and they're violating that right and left. White is, and White ended up losing, and I'm not surprised because of how much violation of the principles they're violating. Jeremy Silman says you can break the principles sometimes, but you have to be in position to do it. You have to know your position so good that even though you break the position, even Grandmaster Simon Williams talked about it, that it's okay. I know. You're harping on it a little too much. Yeah, but I just don't want you to get defeated because of lack of development. It's never fun to do that. There's many grandmasters who have lost because other grandmasters crunch them, keep them crunched, and I have a concern that White's going to end up becoming entombed pretty soon. Okay, bishop d. Hold on, f4 c. Okay, rook c7, bishop d2, rook d8. Oh man, I so prefer black here. I would love to play black. This would be a joy to play black here. To play white, I would play white if I had to, but I would really have to think about some sort of breaks, somehow breaking maybe with B, maybe B4, A4, trying to get some activity. He's trying to imitate going to the middle game with his bishop out, but his bishop really isn't doing anything. It's more of a defensive piece now. So rook c1. The computer doesn't like it, but I would play g4 here. G4 is a playable move. At least here it feigns some counterplay on the king side and to give the d bishop the hope of potentially after rook here getting to g3. Do you see, even black knows that there's something wrong with white's pieces. Black's a grandmaster. See, because we're reading from grandmasters and learning the principles, you're getting to start to feel like I'm feeling how positions sometimes don't feel right. And this position for white feels altogether wrong. Bishop a6, knight f2, and knight e5 was also a playable move. But yeah, you have to be careful of this, because I guess you wouldn't be able to play it because you'd drop a pawn. So this is still an okay move, but I believe that the knight probably could go to g5 here, or f5, and play knight to h4. So he played knight f2, and so basically he's telling what he's going to do. He wants to play somehow like h4, g4, h4, and try to open up the position while white's main pieces are more in the center. A lot of their pieces are. But white really would only have a fake attack. He doesn't really have anything going for him. So the queen's starting to go to e8. I think black believed a little bit of what white's going to do. If black believed what white was going to do, black should have played h5 here. I know this sounds like, what, h5, you're doing that? Yeah, this stops g4, so that if g4 was played, pawn takes, knight takes, and potentially queen h4, and then you have knight f, and you have a potential outpost. So maybe better than queen moving in. Maybe the potential outpost of f5 is actually best here, because this, you could play this, then takes, bishop takes, still an outpost though, and I still prefer black. So takes here, and if takes here, rook, knight actually potentially could take at this point, and then if bishop here, knight can actually come back, takes, and oh boy, it's kind of awkward now. So that's kind of why black moved a little bit, e8. Black kind of, I'm getting a feeling that black really doesn't have a plan either. Black's kind of playing planless. Bishop f1. Bishop takes. So this is actually, I can't believe black did that. This helped. This actually helped white, black, get rid of a piece that was actually an annoyance to him. Rook d, c8, rook b1, and then b5. This is the right way. It is the logical way to play for b4 break and for some concessions in white's camp. Queen e2, and then h5. So black's going for lockdown now. D takes e, c5. His plan is, Victor's plan is the computer's first choice, but the position clarifies into a difficult defensive task for white. So this is categorized into a different difficult attack now. So e4, d takes e, knight takes, queen takes, and rook d5. Bishop e3. So white has unwound his piece. White is in the middle game. White was blessed galore at this. He is truly blessed by the Lord to have survived all of black's pressure. That was amazing that white actually survived. Black just tried to, white played rock solid, and surprisingly white's holding. It's amazing that he actually is. Hey, how you doing? Hey. I can triple on the D file if need be and avoid any simplifying exchanges. Queen f3, rook d8. There's his tripling. So he almost has an Alekhine gun. Alekhine gun would have been bringing the queen over to c2, rook up to d7, and then queen back to d8 would be an Alekhine gun. Rook f2, rook d3. This now pins the bishop to the queen. Rook bf. So now this is a different setup. The queen's actually not where you want her to be unless you're going for a straight up checkmate. So a5 here. A minority attack against a majority attack. Rook e2. White really doesn't have a plan. b4. Boom. C takes b, A takes B, and king G2. Oops, hold on. Oh, bishop D4. Oh man, that's beauty play. That's a beauty play. Attack the pin piece. White already can't avoid the loss of a pawn. Queen E4. B3 does not help. So if he tried B3, it doesn't help because of bishop takes, rook takes, and then check on D2, rook F2, queen A7, and so I suppose A3 to he maybe A3 would be an idea here to trade the queenside pawns off, though he will face a hard task with his king exposed and all the majority of pieces still on the board. It gives black a decisive attack, potentially with taking, and this would be a decisive attack. So he played there. Okay, there. Queen E4. Bishop takes. Rook takes. Rook takes. Queen takes. And then D5 check with a loss of a pawn. Bishop, Queen B3. And he takes the A pawn. Rook F2, and then queen to B1 with the idea of retreating back and potentially even bringing the rook to D1 and trying to go after the king maybe. Didn't seem to matter, but more logical is to centralize the queen. Like C4, it makes more sense. And if he pushes here, then you always have queen here. And if queen trades, pawn trades, and if rook here, you have this check, and it's all over at that point. So B1's okay though. Queen B1 still is playable. Queen E2, rook C8. And he's trying to get his rook to C1. Queen E5. Hold on. Oh, Queen E5. There we go. Come on. To hold on to the pawn a different way. Bishop D3. With white's king exposed and black's king safe, there's little doubt this should be a winning endgame. King H3. B3. What black's trying to do now is play rook C2 and then get the king to H7 and try to win this pawn as well. Rook F5 here. Pawn F5. With the rook C2 coming, black is breaking through. Hence, this is a desperate stab at compensation. E takes F5 and rook E2. Queen F3 with a potential checking idea of trying to send the king up the board with more checks after here. If the rook doesn't block but the king goes up, then another check here, and potentially you have queen there with this attack. So it's an interesting setup for sure. Queen E3 is actually a playable line at this point, trying to trade off the queens. Queen G5 is actually, in my opinion, a really strong move. King G2 and F4. And if queen takes, pawn takes, rook c2, and at this point king to e, and potentially you have a breaking idea of creating a pass pawn to decoy away from the rook from this pawn. So like if king here, you have this, and if takes, if you come here, you actually have this takes, and then you have to play this move, because remember we talked about if you did this, you get the deep freeze of Jeremy Silman in the endgame. So g4, if he comes over, he comes there, you bring the king in. If he plays here, you take, the king takes, here, why is this not working? Oh, he's got to go. Ah, that's funny. You can't take your own pawn. Oh, that's bad of me. I think it's a draw. What? Oh, drat. I'm going the wrong way. I guess it is losing then. There is no real hope. He'd have to come down here, and he comes over. Okay. I got the board a little backwards. I have the king. I thought the king was, the pawn was up there. My bad. Okay. Okay, so now we got to get back to f4, queen f3, and rook c2. Now, and white actually resigned here. White resigned at this point. That was a long game to talk about. I gotta promote this to the main line because this is the main line. Wow. And again, if he tries taking, you take, and if he takes here, you still have this type of a setup. And if you try to come here, you do potentially have this, and it's going to be a little hard for you to, oops, sorry, if he moves there, you just grab the rook. Ah, my bad. That loses this, so he can't take. If he takes here, he has to move the king, and then you just take there, and if the pawn takes, then now you're actually two more pawns up than before. So promote to main line, and he'd have to come at this point, come over, and we learned from an endgame that these two connected pawns protect each other. So black's lost here. I mean, but white's lost here, and that's why black resigned. So hold on, I have to go grab something. I'll put this on the watch the games. I have to grab my book. I forgot to bring it up, or bring it to, from my library to my study. Sometimes computers are very rebellious. Come on. I don't know why it does this. So it takes a while. Just give it a sec. It's starting to come up. I'm not gonna leave you without. All right, perfect. Thank you. Almost. Come on, you can connect. Come on, just connect. There we go. because I'm going to use this. I'm going to keep this as a, there we go. Okay. All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to grab the book and we'll start working on some puzzles. Let's do it to it. I'll get a board editor ready. Let's do this thing. Black to move. Black to move. Are you sure? Are you sure that's right? Yes, D2. Okay, now what do you play? What's the next move? Ah, and what is that? Checkmate! Hooray, yeah, that's right. Oops. Okay, black to move. If you can, try to do both moves. The move for black and the move for white. And then I can see if it's actually two moves, so that this is a two move one. These are two moves. Alright, H, yep, A, yeah, nice job. Hooray, first is a check, then he moves up, then B7. Yes, excellent work. Oops, come on, quit glitching on me. Black to move. It's again 2 moves. These are our forcing moves too, so. Yep. You could actually do a rook or a queen. Either one works, so excellent job. Black to move. There's 2 lines, so you're gonna have to kind of find both lines here. If you can only find one if you want to, but there's actually 2 ways here. So if you wanted to kind of expand a little bit, you could find both moves, both mates, if you wanted to. It's just sometimes I do that. I look for both mates, and it helps just strengthen. Yep. Yep. Exactly. If you play here, if he goes up here on to h5, queen g5 is mate, and then if he goes h7, queen. What I always do is so that so that it's a lot easier. I write like this. I'll write the first variation, queen. G1. I'll just show you what I do. Equals queen check, not check, but and then if king h5, queen g5 check, and then what I do is I put a bracket, and then I do g1 equals queen king king h7, and then queen g7 mate, and I just do this. You could do it that way so that you have it divided up, or you can it's just if you wanted to. Oops, I forgot to put mate there. That's funny. I had check. Hold on. I have to put mate. There we go. Nice job. Nice work on spotting that. Okay, let's see here. So we got that. King here, king there, king here. Boom. Okay. Black to move. Yep, there you go. Nice work. Black to move. Nice work. Yes. You didn't get tempted into turning it into a queen and then stalemate. That would have been stalemate. So congratulations on finding the right move. Okay. Do you want to do some more puzzles or do you want to go into endgame? You want to do another page of puzzles? Or do you want to go into the endgame? Alright, okay. We always got to warm up a little bit. Yeah, it is fun. Uh, well, sometimes it's actually from chess camp, and like the last one, they do have tricky ones. I might bring Susan Pogar's dad's book next, and we can go over some of the mate and twos on that one. Hey, how you doing? And what we'll do is we'll do a little bit of endgame, and then we'll finish off on some more puzzles, some mate and twos. So let's go back. I promised we would go over handling rook and two connected pawns. We have to go over that again for a refresher, so that we don't lose our. We have to refresh, and then what we all do is well, we should try to see if we can't checkmate with a queen again. So let's do that again. Let's so that we keep our. We'll do a checkmate here, and then we'll go into a rook and two connected pawns versus just a rook. So first we check. We come up, check. Then we come there, check. So we get him in this position. And then what we do is, because he's in front, we bring the king up, and when he comes over, we pin. He comes up. If he comes up, we win here. So he can't come up. He comes here, we check. He comes over, we come there. He comes exclam, then we check, and he comes in. So we move our king up one more, and then he comes to f2, check. There, check, here, in, check, and then king e2, e1, bring the king one step closer, he comes up, then we bring the king one step closer, he comes up this way, check, let's see here, I have to be careful. There we go, and then mate. Okay, we got that pattern down. Good. So we need to get on to our next pattern that we have to learn. The rook versus king here, with Harry being a little too over attacking. Harry gets a little too happy and wants to come up the board a little too much. So we have to kind of limit Harry a little bit. We have to say, Harry, you got to be a team player, bro. And Harry ends up becoming a team player. This is hard. Well, we'll go over it again. You have to always remember that you have to pin the pawn on the king. When he moves, you check, and it's a pattern that you have to get set up. And we're going to continue to go over those because that we're laying down something called myelin, and it's like memory in computers. It's like having more memory and more stuff that you can download to, and it makes your computer also faster. The Lord's given us a wonderful brain that we can actually do that with proper practice. So king f6. Remember what we do? We go g3 to if he goes f1. If he goes f1 and tries to check on h1, we bring our king to g4. Remember, and we're good to go. And then at the right moment, we check. When the king comes back, then we can actually, if he comes over here, we can come back here and push, and we're good to go. King g4. Exclam rook f2, and then king d6. And of course, remember, if he goes king up to e7, we actually can play rook g6 and then start getting this pawn rolling up the board. Oh, it's important how to play when your opponent does not know. Well, what you have to do is you have to always, like, this isn't the best. This is if your opponent makes a mistake, comes up the board. Many even some grandmasters have moved their king wrong. Like, there was a game with Wesley So versus Timur, and he got into an endgame where he could have drew the endgame against Wesley So. He moved up instead of back, and it was a losing move, losing game. And because Wesley could spot that inaccurate blunder move that I hate to use that word, but Timur did blunder the end game, and he was able to, in like 25 moves, checkmate Timur. So it did happen. So when we came up, when he checked here, he actually played king e7. This is actually the best line. King e7, and then rook a6 is actually rook a6 is the best, because what you're wanting to do is keep the king cut off so that you can play g5 and then get your pawns going. It's all based, remember what Jeremy Silman says, we have to make sure our pawns are pushed together, our king is connected, is close enough to the pawns to protect them, and we have to make sure that our pawns will shield against checks of the enemy rook. So we have to keep that in consideration. King has to be close enough to protect the pawns. The pawns have to push together, and they have to work as like the Secret Service type of thing for the president. They have to be like that. They're kind of like that with the king. The king is if you think about it, the president or our king or prime minister or whoever. They have people that protect them, and so if you think of these two pawns as your protectorates, and that they need to stick together because they're better in numbers to make sure that the surrounding area is safe, you'll never not remember that these need to promote together, and the king needs to be by his secret guys. So king b2, king h4, and if he was to check here, if there was a check here, the king would actually come up, and if you played here, you can actually play up, and if check, you could always go back down, and then if he tries pinning, you could play h6, and then if he keeps with a pin up here and then checks. I'm just showing you some moves. Now you're getting your pawns and all your king, your pawns, and everybody's together. So h4, king f7, because he's got to run over there, sprint over there. King g4, king g7, h6 check. So we have to keep that in mind. Remember, you have to get your front pawn rolling. You have to have it protected by the rook, and you have to have one move away with the kings. King h7 is forced, and then king h5. And if he did check on, if he checked on h2, you always have a potential king king to g5, and then check. And then when the king goes back, we bring our king up, and then we bring the pawn up, and we can hide. So we're good to go. That's why you always leave yourself a spot to flee to with a check. Okay, king b5. Then we push the pawn. Remember, these guys work together good as a team, and the king is their main protector. c5 to keep this pin going, and then a7 check, and king h8. And then remember, what do we do here? We play king e7, because we want to make sure that when our king gets there, it's blocked by a rook, and that if we had to come up here, he checked. Oops, up here he checked. We can come down here and have a kind of Lucinda setup. It's a Lucinda on the side. Rook c8. White would like to bring his rook to f7 along the 7th rank. Sometimes the king will march to f6, and black will block on e6. He'll go f and then e6, and then do a Lucinda setup. And once this happens, the king, once you get the king here and the pawn on g6, like we talked about, this black rook has to stay in the back, otherwise it's back rank mate, because these two pawns cover here and cover here, and all the rook would have to do is check and it would be mate. So g6 was played here. Now c5 is forced. King oops, I have to promote this to the main line. King, oops, sorry, my thing got there. Okay, king g4. Where did I go wrong? Let me see. King g4. Rook c4. King f5. And the reason he doesn't check is it would just he played this here. If he checked, it just moves the king closer to its goal of getting to f7 anyway. So black just thought it would be better just to go back. King e6, rook a8. He has to stay here now. So black's just got to basically suffer the entire game. Rook d7, because we found out if you play rook f7, if you check here and try to take, it's stalemate. So that had been sad. So rook d7 allows for, if check was to happen, you can move your king in. Oh, okay. I'll have to. I think I can do that. Hold on. Let me just check really quick. Hold on. I'll see if I can do that. Just give me 1 second. I haven't checked that recently. I've been working a lot. So. Let's check this out here. We'll board edit. Okay, clear the board. Just give me 1 second, and then we'll get back to our move sequences. I'll set up the end game, and see if we'll see if I can't make an endgame study. Oh. Okay, I can set up an endgame one. I believe this is the right setting. Let me see here. Nope, I have to modify this. So right so far on that. How do you delete it? How do you delete one? How do you delete this? Delete chapter. Okay. Let's do it to it. I'll just hurry and put it in and get it to where we actually were here. Just give me a second. Yep, there we go. So rook f2. King d6 check. King e6. Rook b2. King h4. King f7. j7. h6. King there. Okay. King h7. h5. I think he checked, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, he checked. Up. Rook c5. A check. King goes back to h8. And rook e7. Rook c8. And then now we're at g6. Check, and then okay, we're at where we need to be now. King g, c4, king up, back. Okay. Now we go e6. Knight, and then oops, did I do something? Hold on. Rook a8, that's right. Okay, rook a8, d7, that's right. And then e8, okay. King here. Alright, now we're at the right point. King f7, rook g8, and this actually wins on the spot. King h7, and then rook to e7, and what we're going to do is trade off, and these two pawns protect themselves. Rook a8. Rook e8 trades, and king a7, and king f8. And this actually is 1. This is a winning endgame. And then I'll board edit this, so I'll get another board editing setup. Oops. And I'll get that queen maneuver set up for you. Oops, wrong pawn. Drat. Hold on. I have to have a black pawn there. Alright, this gets an exclam mark, so oops, I have to make this into a study, that's right. I almost forgot. Okay. If it comes up, we check. It comes over, we check. If it comes over this way, we come here, and this gets an exclam mark. Come on. Work with me, come on. Uh-oh. Having a little bit of issue. No, come on, respond. Okay, hold on. What you have to do there we go. What you have to do is with less moves. Okay, well, well, you can actually modify the amount that you want to actually do. You can actually modify that too. And then oh, come on, don't lag on me now. It's lagging on me. Sorry about this. I don't know why the internet's doing a kind of like not responding. It's not. It's not how many moves you do. It's the patterns that we're trying to get down. There's a way of that the king moves. Then when he goes in front, then you move your king. Not sure why it's doing this. Just bear with me. I apologize about this, but okay, good. Okay, finally we're good. Okay. All right. When he goes D1, you check on D4 there. Then you actually can bring the king one step closer. He goes king to F2. Ah, that's right. Sorry about that. I need to delete this. He comes here, we come there, then he comes, and then we check. And the queen to E is actually, it gets a, this gets an exclam mark. There, then you check, it comes there, it comes one step closer, comes up, it comes check, one more step closer, then you check. Sorry, wrong king move. There you go. Now this is the checkmate that we were talking about. So let's see if so we got both of those taken care of. Now we're going to work on just a quick one. Now we get to go to board editing. The stalemate one, stalemate one, stalemate one. Which hold on, let me see. I'll have to go to my study. Hold on, I'll pull up. Hold on, let me see if I have one that has a stalemate idea on it. Hold on. Oh, okay. So this must be the one that, hold on, let me see. Oh, you mean if I play F7 and then he checks here on F8, and then when you check, it's stalemate? Are you talking about this one? The same pieces, but closer to the edge of the board. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, you're talking about that one? Pawn versus king and queen. Okay. Oh, you want to go over that one? Okay. Okay, will do. Okay. It's you check with D6, and what this does is okay. Be blessed, Erie. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? And then if he goes king e3, you check, because, yeah, well, you want to try to get closer, and then he goes king f2. He can go either way. Then when he goes king f4, he'll go king g2. Oh, I know which one. Oh, I'm sorry. I know which one you're talking about now. I just remembered it. Okay, gotcha. You're talking the one with the pawn. Okay, I just got it back. My mind is back. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's this right here. It's this one. Gotcha. Okay, come on. I know which one you're talking about. Okay. For a second there I was like, huh. Okay. I got it. This one here is what you're talking about. Okay, I'll make it into a course. I don't know why it keeps going to that. I just have to rename it. 3. Okay. If he checks, he comes up. We have to go over this here. And then if you take here, it's stalemate. So he has to come up. You can even, if you had to, you can bring your king in front if you wanted to. And then even if he tries checking, you can come here. And then if he, this is stalemate. Actually, this is losing. Sorry, not stalemate. You'd have to check here. Yes, check here, and you come there, and you would just go back and forth. That happens on that, and then this could also arise too, and you have to be careful. So this would be stalemate, because this is guarded, and that's guarded. All these squares are guarded, and there's no checks. Is that the one you were talking about? Okay. And then it works with I think it works with the F and the C pawn. So you could actually do it with the C pawn too, and the same exact thing happens. So let's pull up another board. And let's get to All Hail the 7th. Let's see how much time I have left. If I have enough time to do this. Yes, I do. I got enough time. I can do one more endgame. Perfect. Loving it. I love the endgame. Alrighty. Oops, too many pawns there. Rook. Where's the black king? It's black to move in. He's actually lost in this position. This is the only move your H pawn to H7 if you're 100%. Oh no, this is a different one. Sorry. This is all hail the 7th rank. This is white's on the 7th rank, so this is your 7th rank. Yeah. And you have to be careful. Sometimes the H pawns have the same. I'll have to set up an H pawn one too, and we'll go over that as well. I'll have to set up studies. I have to actually make this into a study really quick. Hold on. Then you can it's okay, so that you can access it and learn from it. Everyone has no, everyone heard that a rook on the 7th. However, can you explain why a rook isn't equal if it's on the 6th or on the 3rd? The 7th is twofold, Jeremy Soman says. Usually, the enemy has pawns on the 2nd or the 7th, and you can target them. And Jeremy Silman, actually it was Josh said that his teacher Bruce Pontefini called a rook a pig on the 7th or a pig on the 2nd. I call it Pac-Man because if you know what Pac-Man the game is, the Pac-Man munches like this. That's how I think of the rook when it gets on the 2nd or the 7th. It's like Pac-Man munching on the pawns, like the little bitty dots. That's what Pac-Man does, and so a rook has the power of Pac-Man. The defending king is often on the 1st or the 8th rank, and it isn't active. So the king usually has to defend. Yeah. The king usually has to defend the position and the pawns. So like white's king is active here, and black's rook is guarding this pawn, and black's king is guarding the f7. So one piece is locking down two pieces. One piece is locking down two pieces. This position shows us the domination of a rook on the 7th by white. The black rook is doomed to the protection of h7, or a7, sorry, and the king is doomed to the protection of f7 until it can kick the rook out of d7, and the chance of that is really 0 to none. Even though black potentially can make a break, this rook neutralizes two pieces at once. So black tries their hardest to play king f8 to try to come over and attack this rook. The rook goes to b7 and says, "Nice try. You ain't touching Pac-Man. I'm gonna come over and if you move a little too far, mighty king, I'm gonna come over and grab that pawn." King e8, so that's really all you can do. Then the king comes into not d3, sorry, c3. This is actually an exclam setup right now because come on, there we go. White avoids going to d3. d3 is actually a slight inaccuracy. It's not a mistake. It's not dubious. It just allows the black rook to get active, and you don't want the black rook to have any activity. And then rook d7, king e5, and then king e7 in. Black is still in Zook Swamp. Any move that black is to move, he's gonna lose. So you're not doing. Black has a worse position. So to avoid that setup, so this really isn't what you want to do. This move here actually makes still the pieces in Zook Swamp, which means they can't do anything. If the rook moves, this pawn falls, and the a6 pawn becomes a passer, which would be a total thorn in black's side. And if the king goes to d8, our rook comes over and gobbles f7, and then now and after that we come back, and there's really nothing they can do. Yeah. Oh, how do you find the study? You look up my name, business law, and then you click on my I think, let me see if we hold on, let me see here. I think you can go here. You go and you go to my profile, and then you can actually go to he created a study. You click on, and you go to here, and you go to April 23rd, and you click study, and it'll take you to the end game. And you always can you can do that, and then you can find it. I'll do a link for you. Hold on, let me get a link set up. I think this allows. Let me see. Let me see if this actually does it. Yep, there we go. It does. Now you just click on that, and you can go to the study. Yeah, and then king f8, he has to go back, and then king d3. Now king d3 makes sense, and king rook d8 is a check, of course, and then king e4. And now there's no rook d7. King e8 check. Black loses anyways. King to d5. So we're just coming in closer. Rook e7. King to d6. This rook can't take, because if the rook ever took, that'd be a bad move, because then the king can't stop the queening. King e6 check. And king c7. Rook e7. King b8. And black actually resigned at this point. Black resigned here because there's no way that he can actually hold the position, because this pawn's gonna fall and there's no way he can get through to it. And the key move was back here after king e was to go king c3. This the black's in mutual Zugzwang. I'll have to put the symbol that let's see, where's Zugzwang? Use a Zugzwang right there. And then let me see, what time is it now? That's right. I promised that we would do a couple of puzzles. And we'll pick up, because I don't want to really get into a new endgame chapter yet. So we'll do some puzzles, a couple puzzles here, and then then I gotta log. So we'll do that for a little bit. Okay. All right, perfect. Here we go. This is white to move, and we'll set up a couple of these. This is a mate and 2. We also have a, I believe, a club you can join. Okay, bye. Be blessed and have fun. Okay, that's, you know what, school's fun, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right, thank you for coming. What's the move for white? Yep, you got it. Nice job. We'll do 5 more because that's a page. So we'll do board editing. I get a bishop this time. Oops, sorry, knight, not a bishop. Haha. Okay. Okay, white to move. This is a checkmate in 2. It's 1 check. Ah, nice. Great work there. Nice job. Perfect. That is right. Good work. Okay, now we got a bishop that we got to all right. Hold on, did I do something wrong? Hold on 1 second. Hold on, I have this set up wrong. 1 second. 1 second, I gotta set this up. I have it wrongly set up, sorry. I have to move it up 1. Okay. Sorry, that's my bad. Now I got it set up right. Now this is the right setup here. I knew there was some reason it didn't actually work. This one's a little bit harder. You gotta visualize 2 out. I know you can find it though. I believe in you, my team chess cruncher. You have to see your move, and then you have to see the consequences for what the opponent's going to do, and then your move again. If you need any help, just type in I need a hint. Nice job. Yep, you got it. That's mate. Good work there. Okay. Don't get scared because of all the pieces. Just look for a mate and two. Don't get scared. Just look for a mate and two. There you go. So you found the right first move, Rook B1, and if Rook, Rook B1, and then if whatever Black plays, he could play here, and then you checkmate. Yep, great work. Good job. That is correct. Black can move any move he wants. Black can move here, 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 here. It doesn't matter where black moves. You have one thing on him. You have checkmate after that. Nice work. Nice job. All right. You got one after this one more, and then you have the page done. You're doing great. King H1, King D8, and then Rook H8. Correct. Nice job. Now this one's going to be a little tricky. Then this last one's a tricky one. So you're just going to have to be very imaginative with this one. Have a good imagination with this one. For mates. So there's a mate and two here, and then this is the last one. Rook A8, yep. Rook A8. And if, let's say knight G8, what do you play? Rook H7, okay. That is right. Yep, nice work. Okay, now let's say he plays knight f7. What do you play here? Rook a8. So, and then now what? Yep, exactly, and that's mate. And there's also, yep, exactly. And then if he moves king king g8, what do you do? I'm just giving you all the scenarios. King g8. Yep, that's it. Are you guys in agreement? Rook a1 or rook a8? Sorry. Yep, there we go. Nice work. And that's mate. You found all three scenarios. Great work. So let's see how we're doing on time. I think we're perfect. Yep, we're good. Do you have any questions before I log off? Because we're going to be next in our end game. We're going to be studying. We're in all hail the seventh rank. Our set all hail the second rank. So that's the next chapter we're in. Yeah, you guys are doing great. Good work. So, do you have any questions? Oh, all right, perfect. Now, thank you all for logging on. You know what? We're making progress slowly but steadily. You know what? Remember, the turtle won the race when the hare was sleeping. The turtle was going down the path that was correct, and he ended up winning. So, and this is a joke, and he got all the sponsorships. No, oh, that's a bad joke. Sorry, but you know what? It is still funny. You got to laugh at those type of stuff. But you know what? Remember that we become what we think about. Bruce Lee said that there are no limits, there are plateaus, you must not stay there. He also said that um, knowing is not enough, you must apply, and willing is not enough, you must do. He also said that he feared not the person who practiced 10,000 individual kicks, but he feared the person who practiced one kick 10,000 times, so that he was an expert in that field. Or in chess, we call them grandmasters. And as what Grandmaster Yasser Seirawan talked about was he said this: every long journey begins in one small step. That's cool. And you know what? Like what Tom Thumb Thumb said, that treasure your victories and learn from your losses. And remember that mistakes do not define you. It's how you handle the mistake that defines you. And as always, what we have to remember, like what Rusty said in the little engine, if you think you can, you will. If you think you can't, you won't. Either way, my friends, you're right. And we always talk about the fields, that the one field that really has wreaked havoc on chess players is the weedy field. The field that has all weeds in it. You're going to get a harvest, but you're not going to get to the true potential that the Lord has for you if you would keep your garden clean, which means you have to set aside time for study and time for the Lord always, because He's the one that will give you inspiration and the ability to focus down. And you know what? We're going to be studying endgame and games. We're going to do puzzles. I'll see if I can find in my library. The Pogar sisters' father made a puzzle book, and we'll go over some of those, and that should be fun. What we have to do is also remember that, you know what, we're there to have fun, to improve and get better. And you know what? We have to keep pushing forward and not, dwelling on our mistakes. But like what Meet the Robinson says, keep moving forward. He had a place that he actually treasured all of his mistakes. He had a spot that he stored them all, and he learned so much from that. So don't be afraid to learn from your mistakes. And mistakes, like what we talked about, don't make you. It's how you handle the mistake that makes you as a person. But and you know what? We always talk about the chest cruncher. What when you're studying and most are playing or doing whatever, and they come over and say, "Why don't you come and do whatever they're doing?" You can say, "I'm a chest cruncher." And if they haven't heard it, they'll ask, "What's a chest cruncher?" Like Tigger, what's a Tigger in Winnie the Pooh? A chest cruncher hangs up their coat, they hang up their hat, they sit down and study when most won't. They do, and that makes all the difference. And as Wesley So says for the Lord Jesus, and as I say, God bless, and I'll see you next time on Chest Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, and evening, and Lord willing, I'll be back on tomorrow. And we'll keep pushing forward in our chess studies and honoring the Lord and always having fun. Go Team Chest Cruncher, hoorah, be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.